Brought to you.
What's hot? I'm Shireen Bhan. The top stories that we're tracking for you this evening. 2 days after he was captured by the Pakistan Army, Indian Air Force pilot Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman returns to India. He's believed to be completing formalities at the Attari-Wagah border before leaving for the capital. Terrorism is destroying lives and destabilizing regions, says External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj at the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Stops short of outrightly naming Pakistan. Pakistan's foreign minister skips the summit, raising objections to India's invite.
Sadly, a few political parties guided by Modi hatred have started hating India.
The Prime Minister warns the opposition against politicizing India-Pak tensions, but also accuses the UPA of inaction after 26/11. Congress hits back. Rahul Gandhi says Modi cannot leave aside his public relations exercise even for 5 minutes. Markets end the week with gains after a strong Friday surge. The Nifty gets back above 10,800. Mid-caps come back to life with the index rallying over 1%. Market regulator SEBI tightens the screws, disallows exemption from open offer in a stake acquisition for all companies except lenders. The Supreme Court rules to tweak the Provident Fund contribution. Employers cannot segregate special allowances from basic pay. The move may increase retirement corpus, but monthly take-home income is likely to fall. Workers across 50 districts in 9 states protest against the non-payment of wages under the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Payments worth 10,000 crore rupees remain pending due to the lack of funds. The top story tonight, 2 days after he was captured by the Pakistan Army, the Indian Air Force pilot Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman has returned to India. He's currently at the Attari-Wagah border completing formalities. Sources say the Indian Air Force pilot will be flown down from the border to Amritsar and then from there to the capital. On the diplomatic front, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj attended the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. India has been invited to the event as a guest of honor. Addressing the Council's inaugural session, Sushma Swaraj stressed on the need to build pressure on the countries that support terror outfits. Without naming Pakistan, she urged the OIC to tell such states to dismantle terror infrastructure and stop providing funding to terror groups. Meanwhile, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has skipped the OIC event after the UAE refused to drop the invitation to India. Addressing the joint session of Pakistan's Parliament, Qureshi said, and I quote, "I will not attend the Council of Foreign Ministers as a matter of principle for them having extended an invitation as a guest of honor to Sushma Swaraj," end of quote. Staying with statements from Pakistan's foreign minister, in an interaction with CNN, Shah Mahmood Qureshi admitted the Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar, who has been accused by India of masterminding several terror attacks, is in Pakistan. However, Qureshi added that for the Pakistani authorities to arrest Azhar, India would first have to hand over proof that is acceptable in Pakistani courts. Parikshit Luthra has been tracking all of these developments, joins us now with the latest. Parikshit, we are still waiting to hear from the Indian Air Force officially. We are given to understand that a statement will be made by the Air Vice Marshal Kapoor. What more do you know about the modalities that are currently underway in trying to get Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman back home?
Well, there are handing over procedures which take place, and these procedures, I believe, are taking time. Pakistani side making sure that the entire process is well documented. The Indian government team is also there. There is an air attaché. There is a consular team from the Indian government, from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad, which is there at the Wagah border, which is completing all the paperwork. Usually also we're told that when any individual is crossing the Wagah border, the immigration procedure takes about 40 minutes. So right now, that documentation is being completed, and very soon we will hear from the Air Vice Marshal RGK Kapoor, who will make a brief statement that this officer of ours had to eject from his plane and therefore he needs to undergo a medical examination. That will be a very brief statement. Abhinandan would not be with him because the government does not want any coverage of him at this point. He would immediately be taken in a helicopter to Amritsar, and from Amritsar he would be flown down to New Delhi, where he will be straight taken to a hospital for medical examination and any treatment for injuries that he may have suffered in that ejection. Post that, there will be a debrief session with Air Force officials, Intelligence Bureau officials. We believe his parents have also reached Delhi. They will be here to welcome him. So India sending out that message that yes, we want to welcome our officer. We look forward to his return. But this is no great gesture on the part of Pakistan. This anyway had to happen under the Geneva Convention. They had to return him at some point or the other. We're keeping up the pressure on Pakistan. Our forces remain on high alert, and sources in the government telling us that nothing has really changed. Pakistan has not acted against Jaish-e-Mohammed. Until the time we see some verifiable action, we will not go back to the talking table. So Imran Khan will not have that dialogue with Narendra Modi till the time the Pakistani government really acts against those terror groups. India also making very clear, and the reason why there has been no media, we won't get any pictures of Abhinandan or because there is no statement from the government. This is all because the government wants to make it clear that this is no card for Pakistan. Pakistan cannot think that they've done a great gesture for the international community, and they can't put pressure on India by doing that. So our forces remain on high alert. The diplomatic pressure on Pakistan to act against Jaish-e-Mohammed will continue, despite the fact that they have returned Wing Commander Abhinandan.
Parikshit, a quick word on the back-channel talks that have been underway between both India and Pakistan via countries like UAE, Saudi, the US, etc. I mean, yesterday President Trump's comments seemed to suggest that he was in the know of what was likely to transpire. We also given to understand that the UAE Crown Prince has spoken with both Prime Minister Modi as well as Prime Minister Khan. The Saudis have also been doing some talking, as has China. So what are you picking up on the international pressure that's being mounted to try and de-escalate matters?
Well, our sources have been telling us that this entire issue, starting with the Pulwama attack and India's response post that, India has been acting alone and independently, irrespective of what others might say, and there is no third-party intervention needed either in Kashmir or between India and Pakistan. This is what top sources have been telling us. But you're very right when you say that there have been top-level conversations going on at the level of the Prime Minister and the leaders of Saudi Arabia, UAE, US and even the United Kingdom. For the last 4 to 5 days, we have been regularly visiting the Ministry of External Affairs, and a large number of envoys have been coming and going. I've been seeing the UK envoy go to the Ministry of External Affairs almost every day. Same with the Chinese, same with the US envoy and that of France as well. So those conversations clearly going on. India making its point very, very clear that when we acted, it was an act of self-defense against a particular terror group. And when Pakistan acted, it was an act of aggression against military compounds, against military installations in India. So Pakistan is the aggressor here. So what the Indian government is saying that no, not even one global power, one country has gone on to say that India was wrong in carrying out those attacks on Jaish-e-Mohammed camp in Pakistani soil, and Pakistan is playing the game of trying to hoodwink the entire international community. Having said that, the government very, very tight-lipped. They will not acknowledge these back-channel conversations, but clearly there is pressure. There was a conversation between Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Narendra Modi last evening. Of course, there is one thing for the media, and there is one thing that will never be revealed. And those conversations the government will not come out with. But clearly there our NSA, our Prime Minister's office and top diplomats have been in touch with all the P5 countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Israel, and several others as well through back channels.
Parikshit Luthra, appreciate you joining us with the latest details. So what does Wing Commander Abhinandan's return mean for India-Pak ties? Here are some veterans of our armed forces and former senior diplomats on the way forward.
Pakistani army runs the greatest business of Pakistan. I think you should explore a bit on that. They don't want to let go of power, not because they want to want to shoot Indians. They want to stay in power because of money. I think we need to now hit at their military business, really. We need to explore what are they will always find some bogey to bash India, because that will keep their business going.
We must remember our conflict with Pakistan today is counter-terrorism, is against the terrorism which is being utilized from their land to harm us, and that is the primary objective, and that is the primary aim, which, as I think everybody agrees, has not been achieved by just one strike. So we have to be prepared for the long haul. There is a need to also not overplay the diplomatic card as well as the nuclear part. Now, the diplomatic card is absolutely essential, and I don't wish to undermine it.
The escalatory nature of war is there when you do not declare your intent clearly.
Right.
Now, when you have a strike, and which is with a limited, which is set objective, and you don't deviate from that, also under provocation, then that means you can control escalation. And escalation control is always with the stronger party.
Right.
So in this case, what has been demonstrated, that we'll strike what we want to strike and with a purpose, and do nothing more than that unless you provoke us. So I think this myth has been demolished forever, that air power is escalatory. It is controlled escalation is possible.
India is a mature country. India acts with responsibility. We are a no first-use nuclear weapons state. But I can't say the same about Pakistan. And Pakistan has a record of very delinquent behavior, may I say, because of the non-state actors that it supports, and the kind of, non-respect for internationally coded rules of behavior. We are well positioned diplomatically. Our place in the world on this particular issue is completely understood, seen as legitimate and well justified. And I think we have that track to continue to work on.
Well, experts are saying very clearly that this is only one step, but it is going to be a long, arduous, complex, challenging role, and India must stay the course. Earlier during the day, ahead of Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman's return, Prime Minister Modi said that the entire nation was proud of the Indian Air Force pilot. Speaking at an event in Kanyakumari, the Prime Minister also warned the opposition parties against politicizing India's and Pakistan's tensions. Now, this even as he launched a political attack himself against the previous UPA government, accusing it of inaction after events like 26/11. So both sides targeting each other, barbs flying thick and fast. Listen in.
Every Indian is proud that the brave Wing Commander Abhinandan belongs to Tamil Nadu. Sadly, a few political parties guided by Modi hatred have started hating India. No wonder, while the entire nation supports our armed forces, they suspect the armed forces. I want to ask them, do you support our armed forces or suspect them? They should clarify. I want to tell these parties, Modi will come and go. India will remain.
That the nation has been waiting for Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman going through the modalities as part of his repatriation process. Someone who has closely watched this play out during the Kargil conflict, Amit Barua, resident editor of The Hindu, joins us. Amit, you were reporting when Flight Lieutenant Nachiket was being repatriated to India from Pakistan during the Kargil conflict. Take our viewers through the modalities involved. I mean, people are thinking why it's taking so long. Take us through the modalities involved.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I don't know the reasons for the delay on this occasion, but my surmise would be that since this is a direct handover between the Pakistani authorities and the Indian authorities, there could be some procedural delays, some questions, medical condition. There could be a number of things that might be happening. But what I can tell you is that when Flight Lieutenant Nachiket was shot during the Kargil conflict and he was released in Islamabad, So there's a long story there, but eventually what happened is that after Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif announced that he would be released at a press conference, he was to have been handed over to the Indian High Commissioner at the Pakistani Foreign Office. But obviously, that didn't happen. And finally, the ICRC, which has a strict protocol and the manner in which they deal with prisoners who've been held or who've been captured. So finally, I remember it was around 11 o'clock at night. I was inside the Indian High Commission at that time when, two Land Cruisers drove up and the Flight Lieutenant Nachiket was handed over in full dignity to our then High Commissioner and other High Commission officials. So it did take some time. There was some 3-4 hours delay even at that time. So having announced it, I don't see how, any Prime Minister, whether it was Nawaz Sharif or Imran Khan, can go back on that. So I think it's just a question of wait.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely. Just getting through with the modalities. Amit, very quickly, because you talked about the role of the Red Cross during the course of the repatriation of Flight Lieutenant Nachiket, but in this case, the Red Cross is not involved. In fact, the Red Cross telling us that the Red Cross has been in touch with both countries, but their services have not been requested for. The Pakistan government is returning the pilot without the involvement of the International Red Cross. What do you make of that?
Well, that's a call which the Pakistanis had taken in the case of Flight Lieutenant Nachiket, because the offer that was made was to the Indian High Commissioner to come to the Foreign Office at that time, and the Indian High Commissioner said no, and no, I will not come. Please hand him over to us in the High Commission, which is what finally happened. Now, in this case, since it's the choice of Pakistan whether they want to involve the ICRC or not, so it seems that they're not involved in this case, because if they are involved, then they operate very differently. And they have very strict protocols, strict rules and regulations, because they all operate in a number of conflict situations. By the way, they were also involved in the post-1971 situation in the handing back of prisoners of war after the 71 conflict. So my own sense is that, this is a call that the government of Pakistan must have taken. But having announced it in Parliament and repeated it today, there may be some, modalities or issues that might have cropped up. But I'm of the opinion that having announced it, there's no way Prime Minister Imran Khan can go back on this.
Absolutely, there is no question of that, but we just want to point out that the International Red Cross is not involved with the repatriation. That is what they have confirmed to cnbc TV 18's Parikshit Luthra. Amit Barua, thanks very much, the resident editor of The Hindu, joining us for his take. Now, in a significant move for India Inc., market regulator SEBI has tightened the rules for corporate debt restructuring. So no company can now be exempt from an open offer rule while making an acquisition, and that's important. An exception will be made only in the case of lenders taking over a company. The SEBI board also took a slew of other decisions. Yash Jain joins us now with more. Yash, let's start with the open offer rules getting tightened. Explain what SEBI has done and why.
Well, absolutely, Shireen. A lot of clarifications and important amendments coming through in SEBI's board meeting. And the most crucial, as you rightly mentioned, would be on the corporate debt restructuring part. To start with, SEBI has very importantly clarified that an exemption from the preferential issue pricing, which comes under SEBI ICDR regulations, as well as exemption under takeover regulations, which gives the open offer exemption, will only be granted to financial institutions as well as banks, and not to any other party or individual or entity as far as involvement in CDR is concerned. So what that means is only when a financial institution or a bank carries out a corporate debt restructuring where it converts the debt into equity and the stake goes beyond 51% in an entity, only that bank and financial institution will get an exemption under the preferential issue pricing as well as open offer exemption, and no other individual or party. Of course, another important point would be that open offer exemption will only be granted if the takeover transaction which is being done is being directed by a court or a tribunal and not by any other competent authority, which essentially means that only when a court or a tribunal directs a takeover transaction is when when open offer exemption will be granted and no other competent authority. The interpretation of competent authority could be sectoral regulators or government for that matter. And just so that this particular point is very clear, I would put an example to this. In a transaction like LIC IDBI Bank, where LIC raised its stake beyond 51% in IDBI Bank, no open offer exemption would be granted because that wasn't a court or a tribunal directed takeover transaction, but it was a government directed takeover transaction. So no open offer exemption there. This was a very important part of SEBI's board meeting on the corporate debt restructuring part. But apart from that, of course, regulations relaxed as far as REITs and InvITs are concerned. There have been modalities which have been decided which make them more attractive as an instrument. SEBI's also approved the participation from mutual funds as well as portfolio managers when it comes to commodity derivatives. So another important development to increase the depth in the commodity derivative market.
All right, Yash, appreciate you joining us. Those are the decisions cleared by the SEBI in its board meeting today. Important decisions being taken. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of What's Hot. Thanks very much for watching. This week, the Nifty ended 0.7% higher, while the Sensex closed 0.5% in positive territory. Broader markets outperformed the benchmark indices, with the Nifty Bank ending with gains of 0.7%. Mid-caps rallied 2.5%. Taking stock takes the action forward.
Brought to